What's new, crew? Welcome back to my channel. If you're new, my name's Cassandra. Today we are doing a what's for dinner, but we are going to be showing you guys meals that we are eating mostly out of the garden, trying to use as much garden produce as possible. It is the busiest time of year here on our modern homestead. We've been living off of meals that make a lot that we can eat lots of leftovers with because we are doing lots of fishing trips, lots of game hunting trips, trying our best to fill the freezers with salmon and trout, a little bit of grouse, whatever we can kind of get our hands on to make sure that our freezers are topped off headed into this winter. Bow season just opened up where we live, so we've been very busy. Lots of nights where we are eating big casseroles, but we're also trying to make things that are using all of that really nice fresh garden produce, eating it while it's at its peak of freshness, and canning or preserving absolutely everything else, trying to make sure that everything's getting used and we are making the best out of what's coming out of the garden. So come along with me and let's talk about a whole bunch of meals we've been doing recently, using homestead things, garden things, and whatever we are catching out for wild game. This first meal is a crockpot meal. There's lots of varieties of meals in this video today, but we are going to be putting a couple chicken breasts, maybe a chicken thigh, whatever you've got in our crock pot. We are going to peel just a handful of carrots from the garden, get those chopped up. We're going to throw those in our crock pot as well. I really liked using all of the rainbow carrots for this, and they did somewhat hold their color, which was pretty cool. I dumped in, I don't know, maybe half a cup of soy sauce, third cup of honey, a little bit of ginger, a little bit of garlic. Let that cook down. Once it had about an hour left, I threw in some fresh broccoli and some fresh green beans, and we ate that all over a beautiful bed of rice. And that was meal number one. Just a really simple, like, garlic, honey, teriyaki, crockpot chicken. Very delicious. Heading into meal number two, I started off with 2 pounds of ground beef. I threw in maybe a cup and a half of frozen vegetables. I kind of let that cook down with your preferred spices for like a burger or something. Very basic. We're going to cook 1 pound of elbow noodles, drain those off, and then add 2 jars or 2 cans of cream of chicken soup. You can substitute this with cream of mushroom or cream of celery or homemade cream of soup. We're going to add in our meat and our vegetables, and we're going to give that a big old mix. You can taste it and re-season if needed. We are going to take our biggest casserole dish. This is a 9 by 13. And we are going to dump this beautiful mixture here that we're mixing together into our casserole dish. We are then going to top that with your cheese of choice. Today I'm using cheddar because that's what I had in my fridge. You can use Colby Jack. You could use a mozzarella. It's really up to you. You can use a pepper jack if you wanted it to have a little bit of a kick to it. But we're going to add that all over the top. And remember, this is a Midwest dish. You cannot have too much cheese, okay? We're going to top it with our tots that are pre-cooked in the oven. And then we're going to throw this whole thing back in the oven, basically until that cheese is melted. Everything's warmed through here. Everything's cooked, so it does not take that long. About 5-10 minutes or so at 425, because that's what my oven was already at for the tater tots. We're going to pull that bad boy out when it's all done, serve it up, and this is dinner. We ate off of this 9 by 13 pan. Remember, we're a family of 6 for about 3 or 4 days. We used it for lunches. We used it for dinners if we needed to. And I love having a big old casserole in the fridge because you can pull it out and even use it as a side dish if you need to. I ended up grabbing my wok out of the basement, which I don't use all the time, but I really like it when I use it. I diced up this pork steak, which I talked to you guys about in my meal plan. I wanted to find more meals to use this with, and I felt really inspired by this dish, so I just kind of threw everything together. Did not have this planned out, but that's okay. I added our pork to the wok with a little bit of oil, a garden onion, and kind of just let that cook with some ginger and some garlic. Then I threw in some garden green beans, garden cabbage, and some store-bought peas and carrots. If I would have been on my game, I would have had some carrots harvested and ready to go for this meal, but this was just a dinner I needed to throw together really quick. It was already past dinner time, so I did not do that this night. Threw in a little bit of brown sugar, a little bit of soy sauce. We're gonna cover that and let that cook. This cabbage is frozen. It's from last year's garden, so I needed that to kind of thaw and do what it needs to do. So I covered that up, and I remembered I had these cream cheese wontons in the freezer that I picked up from Aldi a really long time ago. So we put those in the oven. I was already cooking some rice. Typically for a fried rice, which is what we're doing here, you would have wanted to use like older rice from the fridge, but I felt really inspired to make this meal, and I'm gonna be honest, you guys, it has been a very long time since I have felt super excited and super inspired kind of on a whim to make a dinner. So I kind of just rolled with it, and it felt good to be really excited making something again. You can get into a dinner rut, and I'm no different, you guys. Sometimes I'm just like, ugh, dinner. So it felt really good to actually be really enjoying with what I was cooking, and I was really excited to eat this meal. We threw in a couple of eggs from the chickens. Once those were scrambled, we whipped it all together, served it up, and this was delicious, you guys. I thought for sure I would be able to freeze some of this and use it as a freezer meal because this works great as a freezer meal. My family ate through this in 2 days. None of it made it to the freezer, and it was delicious. This was a day we got back from a trout fishing trip as a family. It was great. My husband got his limit. Some of the kids caught a couple fish. So it was great. We got some trout in the freezer. We got some trout to smoke, but it was late and it was a Sunday and the kids had school the next day. So I whipped out a really easy dinner. We took some store-bought crescent rolls, a little bit of lunch meat. I shredded a block of cheese and we just rolled it up, baked it in the oven, and we served these with bean and bacon soup or tomato soup. So it was just a little crescent roll with some cheese and some meat. It was like a grilled cheese sandwich kind of. And we dunked it in our soup of choice. It was a very easy dinner, but still super delicious. This is the life of my roast. I will link the full video on this roast down below if you want to see exactly how I made this roast. But we made this together already, so this was a half of a roast that I got from Aldi. In this cup here, I have a little bit of flour and some cold water, and we are going to use that to thicken up all of the delicious juices that dripped off of this roast to make a one-pot roast gravy. We served it over garden mashed potatoes, and it was delicious. This is another meal that we made together, you guys, with our homegrown potatoes, some homemade taco seasoning that we made together. Once again, I will link this video down below if you wanted to make these or see kind of in depth how we did these, and a lot of these did make it to the freezer. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me today. I hope wherever you are having a fantastic day. I hope that this inspired you to make some new things, try some new things, but this is what we've been doing to use up a lot of garden produce and some quick easy meals while we are in the busiest time on the homestead here with harvesting and preserving and trying to get some game meat in the freezer for the winter ahead. I hope wherever you are, you guys are having a fantastic day, and I will see you guys in my next one.